welcome to Backyard Bows. I'm Brandon. Today on deck we got PSE, so precision shooting equipment. And I think, to me, that's exactly what PSE has been over the years. I think the made-up word of shootability comes to mind when I think of PSE. Very consistent. I don't want to say accurate because I think all bows are accurate until you incorporate some of those human flaws that we all make. So maybe some of the most forgiving. I've shot several PSEs, and man, I usually get the same thing each time. Is they set up real nice, they hold real nice, and they seem to have the most consistent shots for me of bows that get those higher speeds, or at least have cam options that get those higher speeds. So I went with their flagship bow from this year, so the Evo XF. We've almost made it through all the flagship bows for 2022, and then we'll go back through and we'll do a round of budget bows. So this is one of the last flagship bows that we will be doing. I went with the 30 instead of the 33. They got two options for the axle to axle. I have had turkeys on my mind for the past couple weeks, and after doing a little bit of preparation and kind of finalizing going into my spring turkey season, I'll be hunting with a bow, which I usually do. I also kind of thought, man, what bow am I going to use? And I was in the middle of ordering this Evo XF, and I thought, let's go with the shorter axle to axle. I'll be hunting out of a blind. Let's go with that darker, solid color. And so I'm thinking that this is probably going to be what I'm going to be hunting with in the blind. But we will see. We'll do a good freestyle shoot today, and we'll see how accurate I am with it. But if it compares to some of the PSEs from the years past, I'm pretty consistent with these bows. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. It's right under 30 inches axle to axle. It's 4.2 pounds, so it's nice and light. Something I do like is it almost has a 7-inch brace height, so a nice long brace height for such a compact bow. They went with new cams this year, an E2 and an S2, so 2 additional cams, so 3 cams total for this bow. I went with the E2s, which are a little bit larger. They vary in draw weight range, draw length range, but they're the ones that get the top, the highest speed. So now that I actually have the bow in person, because I did order this online, these stick up fairly, longer above the limbs than I had anticipated. I might have gone with the S2s if I would have got to shoot one in person in the bow store. Since I'm going to be shooting in a blind, I would have liked that little bit more clearance. But I'm sure these will do just fine. They have a new riser here. They're claiming the riser and the grip combination is almost vibration free, which we'll see. I love what they do with their stabilizers, and we'll see this more and more lately, is that they have a spot for a stabilizer down below. I know Hoyt actually has a short stop that comes off, which we've reviewed some of those bow, but we'll do this, we'll shoot in both. So we'll shoot with the stabilizer on where it usually goes, and then we'll take it down and we will put it in the lower spot, kind of lowering that center of gravity, and see kind of what we like best. So they also have these limb vise pockets, and that's what they call them. Each company calls things a little bit differently, but what we're seeing again more and more from each company, and especially in these flagship bows, is where the limbs and riser come together with the limb pockets. They make it so that there's no movement, and the limbs aren't able to shift forward and backwards at all. And in the past, those limbs just sat in the limb pocket, and then the pressure that was put on the limbs kind of kept them in place, where now if you look up under here, you'll see that there's different ways of doing it, but they usually make a little notch or groove out an area and make it so that the limb is secure. Moving down to this guard lock system, this is one of my favorite parts about the bow is they have the cable guard, and the containment system, but it's able to slide along this rod when you're drawing back. And also, if you undo the top screw, you can actually move that rod left and right. So again, you can kind of customize your shot and how you like it. And it's supposed to prevent creep for when you get up into those really long draw cycles and heavy draw weights. So right down below that, and we've seen it again on lots of bows, this ultra rest, this quad rest is machined into the riser for that quad rest. Again, I just keep putting the ripcord on these bows that we've been reviewing, save a little bit of money. The grip, I did notice, was a little thick, kind of completely different from the SR350 we did a couple weeks ago, where it was so thin. This one is is pretty thick to the touch. It does taper up at the top like the Venom Pro that we reviewed that had a medium size grip, which I loved. This is a little bit thicker in the center, but again, when we do these shot assessments, we'll kind of touch on that a little bit as well. So let's get to, and one more thing, they actually have, into the riser, they bored 2 holes so you can have a 2-piece quiver. So let's get to the cams. Cams, E2, S2 are new. They vary in draw length. The E2s I think go from 27.5 to 31.5. These cams on the 33-inch axle to axle, I think they actually get up to 32.5, which is a really nice long draw weight for those bigger draw lengths for those bigger guys. One mod easily rotates. You got a number system. We'll throw the graph up on the screen. Easy to adjust. On that mod is a built-in let-off system on the backside. You can go 80, 85, 90. Again, just with one screw, top and bottom. You can move those around for your comfort. And on the back side of that little adjustment is your string stop, but it has a little rubber piece built in, which I like, probably to prevent wear and tear and give you just kind of a nice feeling to your back wall. Let's go ahead, we'll do our single shot assessment inside. We will go outside for the freestyle shoot and have some fun in the backyard, but it is a little bit windy, so we'll do that single shot assessment here indoors. This is probably one of the bows that I've shot the least of. It kind of sighted in almost perfectly, and I was running out of time, which we'll see how good I sighted in outside, but I haven't really shot this bow a ton. So we will let you know what we're feeling from some of these first shots that we do. And again, the PSEs that I've shot in the back, I think performance-wise, there's some exceptional bows. So it's kind of tough to start your draw. You got to kind of put some good energy into it at the beginning. It's a little stiff right from the go. Maybe that'll loosen up. Sometimes these first shots on any bow, it kind of is like that, and then after you shoot a whole bunch, it kind of dies down. So we'll kind of retouch on that in a little bit, but it's a little bit stiff. It's actually a little bit rigid drawing it back too. And I have it on the 90 let off, which when we do the speed test, I'll switch it to 85, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons why it feels, it kind of has a really unpleasant deep valley. You're pulling back nice and hard, and just instantly, it immediately lets off and you hit your back wall and kind of jerks you a little bit, which I don't like. Luckily, I'll be shooting this from inside of a blind, and maybe that won't be as noticeable if I was out in the open, but it does jerk you a little bit. And I don't know if it's 100% the riser or this big rubber grip that's on here, but the vibration is nice. It's little to none. And once you get it in full draw, it holds really nice. It's nice and steady. Right from the beginning, the pin's dialed down real quick. And that's kind of what I've gotten from PSE bows over the years is I always feel that they have an incredible shot cycle. The cam systems they use, the cable guard, the way it slides, all of it in sync, I think creates a really nice shot cycle. And that's what I'm getting from this. Is once, it takes me a little bit of energy and it's not as smooth as I would like to get it back. But once I'm back, it holds really nice, and which is going to play into how consistent your shots are and how tight your groups are, which in the end, in a hunt, that's what matters, is the shot cycle. I think the draw cycle is a more, for preference. It's kind of your comfortability of what you feel comfortable with. But when it comes down to it, you want that nice clean shot cycle, and I think that's what this is getting. The grip is a little bit large. I got bigger hands. So it's not something that I dislike, but it's noticeably large. In the middle, it's like a tennis ball almost that you're grabbing. And I think also with that draw, maybe, I would love to get the S2s and see if they draw a little bit differently. And I'm sure the Evo XF33 probably has a little bit smoother draw But this one, you know, it's a little rough getting back, and then it's a little jerk kind of towards the end. It actually kind of wobbles you a hair, hitting that back wall so hard. But like I said, once I get it all set up, I think it holds and it's gonna shoot real nice. We'll get outside, we'll see how consistent and how accurate I shoot with it right from the bat. I haven't really shot at all in the backyard, so we'll have some fun. We'll shoot a whole bunch of arrows like we do on everything. Then we'll come back inside, we'll do it the speed test, and then we'll give it that final grade. But I see myself in a ground blind peppering some turkeys with this for sure. So let's go outside and we'll have some fun. All right, so yesterday ended up being a little bit too windy, I think, to do a review. So we ended up waiting until today, and we got up early this morning, and the winds calmed down. It's really pretty out. Everything's coming into bloom. It finally feels like spring, which again keeps making me think of those turkeys. So we'll start over here like we do. We'll kind of move up that distance ladder from 20 to 30 to 40. Then we'll go over there, we'll hit 40 and 50. We switched a couple of things around, but all the same targets for the most part. We'll start on that turkey. So again, once you get it back, good amount of effort to do so, but once you get it back, it really does settle down really quickly and nicely. For being such a compact bow, you think it would just want to move around a little bit more, but it really sets up nice. I'm gonna go back to that turkey. Man, it's hard to describe a shot cycle sometimes, but with this, just quick comes to mind. It's just quick and smooth. Like I mentioned, inside you have this really large rubber grip that I think is playing into a positive way into the vibration, but it's also growing on me a little bit. Usually I like a grip that's a little bit thinner, but that one is nice. Man. So what else I'll do while we're out here is when I kind of do my little freestyle shoot after the cameras are off, I'm gonna shoot from my knees. I'll shoot with one knee, kind of assimilate some of those ground blind positions that you can find yourself in, and we'll kind of fully test all, every shooting potential position I could be in, before we take it into a blind. And I will say that, it was a little stiff at first, and again, you can get that with a brand new bow. Those first, second, third draws, the beginning of it can be real stiff. It's kind of like it needs to be broken in just a hair. You put 10 plus shots through it, that'll kind of go away, and that's kind of what's happened. It's a little bit easier to start. I do feel it's a little bit rigid. This bow, I think, could potentially spook something if you are making that jerky movement, but then something that also plays into effect that's a positive is once you do potentially spook an animal and they have their eyes on you, it settles down real nicely. So in full draw, I can hold it at steady really, really smoothly and easily. So those kind of counter each other just a little bit. Sometimes I'm premature with my reviews, but I'm definitely taking this in a blind with me this spring, and we're gonna get a turkey. All right, let's go over there. We'll shoot some of the longer distances. All right, I'm kind of excited for some warmer weather. We've been doing most of these reviews. We started filming in January, so it's been pretty cold. And just now with the warmer weather, man, it feels so much nicer to get out here and shoot some with the sun on your face. So we'll go broadhead buck. Then we'll move up to the mama black bear, and then we'll move to the baby black bear, and then we'll get up the hill to the elk, which is at 50. I'll tell you what, this grip is growing on me for sure. At first, I think just because it was a little different than what I'm used to, it felt funny. But the more I've shot on it, I actually like it. I got bigger hands, so this feels fine to me, but it is thick. It is thick. So something else, and that's why we tell you to pay so much attention in those single shot assessments, those first shots that you're going to get, even 20 shot cycles, 20 draw cycles. You start shooting a bow a bunch, it will grow on you. It will feel more familiar, and some of those things that stood out in the beginning will go away. So this is not my favorite draw cycle. To me, it is a little rough, but it's not bad. It just takes a good amount of effort to get it back, and it's more towards the beginning, and then it just drops off at the end, and that kind of gives you that little bit of jolt every time I shoot. So the black bear, the mama bear's at 40, and then that little baby bear, which we call Paddington's, at 45. So let's jump over to the little bear. Man, I got a couple more coming in. My neighbor the other day actually mentioned, he said, are all those animals out there to keep predators away? But it is filling up. We're getting them everywhere, which I love. You got them at all different ranges, distances, shooting from different angles in the yard. I think that plays into a successful hunt, because as we all know, no deer walks along the path you want it to right at 30 yards. It's usually at 34 or 35, or maybe even a step back or a step closer. So I like the different ranges, and I like shooting on multiple different targets at different ranges. I think that's real helpful, once you get in the field. So let's go back to the little black bear, try to put a better shot. So he don't have any arms. Let's go, we'll move up the hill to the elk. So we'll usually get a bow on Tuesday, and we will do our research, mess around sighting it in, get it all ready by Friday, film the indoor, the talking points and stuff Friday night, and then we'll usually film all day Saturday for editing on Sunday. So that's kind of the process that we've been doing. But I was out of town, so I had him sight it in for me, and like I said, I think he did a little bit, he did a good job, but everybody sights their sights in just a hair differently, even if it's a little bit low on a 20 target, or some people like it a little high on a 20 target. Everybody is a little bit different, but I think he did a good job. So we'll get up the hill. We got the elk. We put a couple hay bags behind it, just in case a missed shot doesn't go anywhere we don't want it to, trying to be as safe as possible here in the backyard. So let's go ahead and jump up there. Man, like I said earlier, for being such a short axle-to-axle bow, for such a compact bow, this is under 30 inches. Man, it settles down really nice. And my personal experience is once you get right under 30 inches, 29, I think there's been a couple over the past years that are like 28s. Man, it seems to be really hard for me with such a longer draw length to get them to settle down for me. So right around 30 is where I like to be on a hunting bow. Some manufacturers, I'll stick above 30 and go for the longer axle ones, which seem to hold a little bit better for me. But this one, it actually holds really, really nice. Man, I like that a lot. So we'll shoot these last couple. We'll stick up the hill of that elk, and then like we do, we shut off the cameras. We'll do a ton of shooting on a day like this where it's nice. We'll probably shoot all afternoon, and then we'll come back this evening and we'll put some numbers together and give it a grade. You know, my lineup that I do is usually for a whitetail hunting season is kind of what my lineup is for. So this might not go in that lineup, but I am going to use this in a couple weeks once the turkeys start gobbling. So yep, this is a great little bow. We're going to get after it, and then we'll come back to you here in a little bit. Okay, so now we're back inside. We'll do the final part of the grading, the final part of the testing here before we give it that grade. I think, and again, I say this every time, we got a right over 500 grain arrow, right at 500 almost. 29 and a half. I switched the let off from 90 to 85 and a 70 pounds. So we do all the tests the exact same. I think, and I always like to compare with the IBO rating, I think this is going to get right around, hopefully 280. We'll see. $276. So a little bit less than what I was anticipating, but again, as we know, sometimes these vary and aren't as consistent as we want them to be. So let's see if that changes at all. $275. Consistency is what we're looking for. Once we get into these speeds, it's always enough to get the job done. I like real consistent bows. 274. So let's do one more. It's gone down 1 feet per second every shot. Let's do one more. $278. So that jumped back up. So almost 280, but right around there. 278, 276, 275, 274. So I like it to be within 1 feet per second, but that's not bad. That's pretty consistent and a nice high speed for this arrow. So give us a second and we'll throw together a grade. All right, so you know, as always, we do a lot of shooting in between turning off the camera and the final grade, and we really get a good feel for the bow. And well, I've kind of shot all afternoon, all day today, Sunday, and then we kind of carefully put some thought into these numbers before we give them to you. So right off of the bat, the speed, it topped out at 278, but the other shots were kind of remained in that mid 270s. So it gets the 8 out of 10. And again, we do all of those speed tests the exact same, 85% let off, 29.5-inch draw at 70 pounds. And then the arrow that we use is the same arrow each time. It's 502.7 grains, the exact same arrow, so everything is on an equal playing field. So it gets the 8 out of the 10 for that. Quality, I think this is a very solid bow. I love the cable guard system. To me, again, anytime there's some really large cams that rise far above the limbs, there's room for them to be damaged a little bit. Kind of either crawling through a brushy area, if you drop it too hard. You know, I've had one of these bows kind of hit the bottom of my climber stand, and I didn't realize until later that it was dented a little bit. But the larger the cam, the easier it is to be damage. So we gave it an 8 out of 10 for that. I didn't mention earlier, but these cams, they did make a little bit wider, so they are nice and thick. They're solid cams, which I think is easier for tuning and more consistent shots. So they widened them by I think 15%. But it got an 8 out of 10 for the quality and durability. The appeal, and again, Hoyt and PSE are the same to me with appeal. I usually prefer or like about half of the bows that they will put out. And then the other half, they're just not my style. But this one is one of the PSE bows that I think it's a good looking bow. I'm actually going to use this. I'm going to be climbing into a turkey blind, with this in the next 3 weeks. This bow is, a great looking bow to me. Technology wise, you got multiple different cams. Luckily, you only have one mod. I think the cable guard system, I think this is one of the best cable guard systems that you can get. I love the ability to lower it so far with your draw weight, which is not something that you see very often. 27% fluctuation is a lot, so I love that. But I gave it an 8 out of 10 for the technology. And then the performance. Once I got it set up, it shot really, really well. But there were a couple different things that just did not feel great to me. The draw cycle was not the smoothest. A nice jerk at the end, real rough. Even when I lowered it down to the 85% let off, it still was just real harsh towards the end. It kind of smoothed out in the beginning a little bit, but man, it's tough to even start getting it back. Just not a smooth draw that I'm used to with shooting some of these other bows. But it shot really consistent. I actually shot really well with it for such a compact bow. So overall, it got a 41 out of 50. We allowed it to make up the 2 extra points. It's about $1,200 for this bow. So 43, which gives it that 86 out of 100, which is the lowest bow that we've rated today. But I want to say that really doesn't factor in too much to me. These are just a personal score that I give these bows, so so I can create some separation between them. And I'm a numbers guy, so I like adding numbers to stuff. But even though it's the lowest scoring bow we've rated, like I said, I'm going to be climbing into a turkey blind with this thing in a couple weeks. I can't wait to shoot it. I'm going to shoot it some more in between now and then. It doesn't make my deer season lineup of the 3 bows that I'll keep, so I'll probably end up reselling this just to kind of get some more of that income in so we can buy different bows. But I will hunt with it this turkey season. So we have a lot more bows to come. Make sure if you want to get updates on some of the bows that we have next in our lineups, subscribe to the channel. You can also follow us on Instagram, where you'll get updates on the next bows that are going to be released. Above all, make sure you get your reps in. Don't buy a bow off of a single bow review, and we'll see you next Saturday.